Yeah. So that day we have actually learned about the fundamentals of Microsoft Azure, right? So yeah, these are the basic terms that we should know if we are working in any cloud platform, right? It's cloud computing, architecture, IaaS, and SaaS, PaaS, virtual machines, on demand, and the remote work. So we have answered that day that who can learn about Azure, right? So the answer was any student who want to create a project for their college, for their school, or even if they want to do any freelancing work, or if they want that, okay, I should learn some industry expert skills before completing my graduate. So post my graduation, I can directly get a job into that. So a student can learn, a fresher, right, who have recently passed out and they want to learn any IT skills and they want to explore their career in IT can learn it. Then small business owners, because why Azure is important to business owner, it's because they have to save their data in any cloud platform, right? They need the storage to actually save their data. So that's why they should have the understanding of the cloud platform, that how they works, how the pricing of it works, how secure it is to put their data in any cloud platform, right? So they can also learn it. The business analyst. So it's also important for the business analyst to understand about the cloud platform so they can have a word with their client. They can actually convince their client that why it is required for them to get into Azure or any other cloud platform like AWS, GCP, any other such cloud platforms, right? So to convince their client to get understanding on whether their team is working on a right path or not. So they should have the understanding of cloud. Then about this course, so we have discussed that no prerequisites are required to actually do this course, because whatever is required, whatever the skills or tech stacks are required to complete this project, we are going to teach you from scratch. We have industry expert trainers, right, who are working themselves in Azure, and they do have industry level expertise. They'll guide you in a very proper way, right? And so you should get and your job on right time, right? And we'll learn each and every fundamental part, right? Each and everything what is required in Azure, whether it's a big part or a small part, each and everything step by step we are going to learn. So you can get the understanding in such a level that anybody asks you any question from Azure, you will be able to answer it. Either it's a small, it's or it's a big terminology, right? Then I've already answered what is Azure. So Azure, it's basically a cloud platform, right? And it saves basically the data, and it allows multiple cloud platforms also to connect in it, right? Then that day we have built a data center and we understood that what is on premise. So on premise is basically creating anything at your own premise or at in your own building. Right. So there are few companies who are creating their data centers in their own building. They have a separate or a dedicated room in which they have created their data centers and they are managing it by themselves. So they have few engineers, few experts who can manage it and they are managing it by themselves, right, in their particular building. Then this is how our data center basically gets built. So we have few computers, we have storage for that, and then we have virtual machines associated with on top of that. So this is how it gets built. So this is the hardware layer, right? Then we understood that what is virtual machine. So virtual machine, it's basically a virtual computer, right? It works like a real computer, but it basically is not. So it's so when you have to do some testing or you have to run the same code in different operating systems, like you have to run it in Windows, then you have to learn it in Linux, right? So in such scenarios, we built VNs as VMs, it's virtual machines, and then you can work on that, right? The complete details I've already taught in the previous classes, so please go through that video, right? So once we created the virtual machines, our hardware layer of data center is completed. Then we have to go into the software layer, because we know for every machine, a hardware and a software both is required, right? So in our software layer, we have some servers, we have our networks. Networks are like our internets, right? So all this is covered in our software layer. Then we learned about that what are the challenges we face if we create our on-premise data centers, right? So the first is high cost. So we have to purchase the software, we have to purchase the hardware, and then we have to set up the complete infrastructure, which is a very cost taking part, right? Then the maintenance is required. The regular maintenance we have to do. We have to do the cleanings. We have to do the upgradation. Everything we required in that. Then the scalability. So scalability also depends on extending your software, upgrading your software, extending your hardware. So right now your company has a data of 100 GB, right? And the data center, it's built as per that. But as your company is growing, your data is increasing day by day. And now you have somewhere around 1000 or 2000 GB of data that you have to manage. So accordingly, you have to upgrade your software. You have to build a new data center with new hardwares, right? So this is a scalability, and the same way the cost is also required. Then the disaster recovery means if there's a fire in your building, or if there's a flood or any earthquake is there, then your complete data center is going to collapse, right? So then you have to do some checks on that. You have the disaster recoveries management. You should have that. You should always take the backups of your data, right? In WhatsApp, as in WhatsApp, we take the what you can say backup of our data, right? So if any time if WhatsApp get crash, or our phone gets formatted by any chance, or if we lose our phone also, then we should have the backup of a complete data, right? Then the security management, as the data for each and everybody, the data is very private thing, right? And it has to be a secured part. So the security management thing is also required, and they do need some experts who have the knowledge on all the securities and every compliance part. So for each and every domain, we have different compliance. So they should be a compliant partner, right? So these technologies are required. Then we have technical expertise. So as I said that for the IT person to upgrade the software, or to upgrade their hardware, right? They should have the understanding. They should have some technical experts who can do this. Then downtime risk. Downtime risk, it's like you can say collapsing of your data, right? And then the compliance. So as I said that for each and every domain, we have some compliant partners. So we should be complying from that. And once we get the compliance, then only you can create your data centers, right? So to keep a data in a larger way, there you have to be complying from a regulatory compliant part. Okay. Then we understood that what is cloud computing. Okay, so basically, cloud computing is a technology that lets you use the internet to access and manage computer resources like server, storage, database, and software. Right. So we are actually using internets, right, to check our data, or if we are using any software, to download that software, to upgrade that software, right? For all such things, we are actually using the cloud computers. So then we understood that what is the benefits of cloud computers. So one is the scalability, right? So it's very easy to scale. It's very cost effective, because you don't have to invest much more money in that. It's already provided by a cloud server, and they take it further for you. Then it's very flexible. So anywhere, anytime you can use your internet, either in your phone, in your laptops, in your iPads, right? Sitting at home, in office, or anywhere in the world, you can do in any of your devices. So that's why it's very, very flexible. this is reliable also because all the data it's been secured in the cloud, right? And how this is reliable, how it goes in cloud, right? How the data get governs, how the security part is done. All this we are going to learn in Azure Purview. So Purview is what you can say, a term or Purview it's part of Azure, which helps you to for all the governance part, right? Once we go in details, I'll let you know that how it is useful, right? So most of the some of the companies are using Purview, some are not. But if you have the knowledge, the extra knowledge of the governance part and everything, so if you coordinate with client anytime, or if you have any project working on, you can introduce Purview. You can say that, okay, this is the governance part and I knew it. So that will be an added advantage for you, right? Then automated updates. So in cloud, everything gets automated update, right? So like I'm using an IRCTC app, right? So right now, if I'll look for, or I'll say go, okay, IRCTC only I'll say. So I want to travel from Delhi to Mumbai. Now I'm searching for my train tickets, right? Right now it's showing me that, okay, this is XYZ train, and in second AC I'm getting 100 tickets are available. So I say that, okay, now 100 tickets are available. Let me book it after a week. Now again, after a week, I'm opening the IRCTC app, the same tickets I'm looking for the same XYZ train. And now it's been updated to only 20 or 30 availabilities, right? So the data is automatically getting updated. I don't have to do anything on that, right? So once we go, we learn this concept also, right? We do have a concept of OLAP and OLTP. So how it basically works, how this happens, how this gets updated by itself, everything we are going to understand in our later on videos.
Hello, hi Tanya.
Yeah.
Can you please check your laptop or computer voice is slow, little bit.
Okay. Okay. Let me check.
No, it's fine for me actually.
It's fine.
For others also, it's the same issue, my voice.
No, it's really fine.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I
That's fine,
guess
it's fine.
there's an issue in your, you can check for that, please. Mhm. So as we know, with I mean, there are always two sides of a coin, right? So with pros, we do have some cons as well. So the disadvantages are security concerns, because we are actually saving our data into someone else platform, right? So we should know that whether the data that we are storing it's secured or not. It's there, any cyber attacks can happen into that, because if the data is not logged completely, the cyber attacks can happen, right? Then downtime, it's also like as I said, right now I told that company that, okay, the data I want to save it's of 1000 GB, but now my data it's getting increased, right? And now it's 2000 or 3000 GB. Then again I have to tell them that go and save my data. So if I take the example of that, in our phone, right? We store our WhatsApp chats, we store videos, we store photos and some documents and many things we store in our mobile. Right. So the data right now, which I can use it 128 GB, I'll say. Okay. And now I have consumed complete 128 GB. So I've downloaded multiple apps, multiple data, everything is there in my phone. So 128 GB, it's now completed, right? So it's anyways going to tell me that either you delete some of your apps, some of your data, or you upgrade your storage, you purchase some external storage for it. Right. So this is how other time downtime also calculates in our cloud platforms. So limited control, because my data is stored in someone else's cloud, right? So I have limited access to that. I can't do anything on that. Every time I have to go and tell that person that, okay, go ahead and do this for me, or do that for me, or make any changes, upgrade your software, upgrade your hardware. So if I want, I can tell them. Anyways, they do it by themselves. But yeah, I don't have the control on that. So again, if you have to increase things, the cost is required. then the data transformation cost is also required. Right now, I'll say that I'm using AWS, right? Now I want to move it. Now I have had a word with Microsoft and they are giving me much more facilities in a much more effective cost. So now I'm telling the partner to transfer the data from AWS to Azure. So there will be some charges required of transferring the data from one cloud platform to the other, right? And I have to bear that cost, right? Then internet dependency is always be there because my data is stored in the cloud, and to access any data from cloud, I need the internet connection, right? So if I have to search anything in Google, it's a cloud, right? So if I have to search anything in Google, internet is required. If there is no internet, I cannot access Google, right? Unless and until I've downloaded something, right? So all this is are there, the advantage. Then we have learned about the types of cloud that we have, right, as per the computing model. So now let me start from this in brief because now today we are going to discuss about more cloud platforms. So we have the cloud based on two different parts. One is on the computing model and the other is based on the development model, right? So let me take you through all these 5 models because these are very much important. So firstly, as per the computing model, we have infrastructure as a service, right? So or either we can call it as IaaS. So IaaS or infrastructure as a service is a cloud computing model that enables one to build and control their own computing resources such as servers, storage, network, and visualization. It is a pay-as-you-go service where a cloud provider hosts the infrastructure component that are traditional and present in on-premise data centers. Right? So as I said that infrastructure, it's basically an on-premise data center, or it is also on a cloud base. So you have to pay only for the services which you are using for, right? You don't have to pay for the complete usage. So if you are only telling them to store their data in a particular network, right? So the data it's also stored in a different ways. It's in a zonal part, it's in a geographical part or a local part. Right? So there are different storages, and as per that you have to pay the money. So each and every zonal I'm going to explain you once I'll create the resource group in Azure, right? So I'm going to explain you that what are this local and zonal and geographical and how they are useful and how the cost is related to that. Everything I'm going to teach you in brief. I guess in the second half of our today's class, I'm going to explain you, right? So yeah, this is one of the thing. Just give me 1 minute. I'm getting a all urgent call I'm getting. Just give me 1 minute. Just attend that. Yeah, sorry. So infrastructure as a service is just that whatever the services you are going to use, you don't just have to pay for that only, right? Then we have platform as a service. So platform as a service, also known as PaaS, is a type of cloud computing service model that offers a flexible, scalable cloud platform to developer to develop, run, and manage their app. So in PaaS as a platform as a service, the developer can do whatever they want to do without any what you can say uh, without any hassle or tension of what that they have to upgrade their softwares, they have to upgrade everything, and they have to maintain or manage their hardwares. Nothing they have to do. Everything it's been done by the third party, right? They just have to use that platform and they have to use it. That's it. Right? Then we have software as a service. So software as a service is a software licensing model which allows access to software on a subscription basis using external servers, right? So you can use multiple softwares as a subscription basis, right? Like Netflix you are taking subscription of that. Amazon you are taking a subscription of that, right? So each and everything you are doing, you know? So this is how it goes, right? So the best example of software as a service, it's your Gmail, right? Because you don't have to bother about where the server is hosted, what APIs they are using, anything. You don't have to be bothered about anything. You can just go ahead and use it, right? So yeah, this is about types of computing model in cloud. Now let us move to the other part. Sorry. Yeah. So there are types of development cloud also. So in development, we have public, private, and hybrid cloud. So first, let us understand that what public cloud is, right? So public cloud is defined as computing services offered by third-party provider over the public internet, making them available to anyone who wants to use or purchase them. They may be free or sold on demand, allowing customers to pay only per user for the CPU, cycle, storage, or brand they can consume. Right? So, public cloud is basically a third party thing, right? So, we are actually giving the money, or we are paying money to some other person, right? And they are actually providing us all kind of facilities, right? They are allowing us to store the data in internet. They are maintaining it for ourselves. They are upgrading it for ourselves, right? Each and the security part is under them. Each and everything they are managing, right? We don't have to get bothered about that. What we have to do, only we have to do our work, and the data is getting saved, right? So I can take example of Meesho, right? So Meesho is a business. It's an e-commerce business, right? So as an e-commerce business, if you open any e-commerce website, either you open Meesho, you open Flipkart, you open Amazon, whatever you open, you can find multiple catalogs in that. The by the catalog, I am referring to the products, right? So if I'll go and I'll look for I can say earphones, right? So I can get the multiple brands of earphones. I can get for JBL, then I can get for Hammer, I'll get for Boat, right? So there are multiple brands of earphones we are getting, right? So these are the catalogs that are created, and it also consumes some amount of data, right? Now I am going and I'm purchasing it. So they are saving my complete data that, okay, this person has ordered, I'll say, Boat wireless earphones. And this time, this is the address in which we have to send this. This is the payment type. Either if I have done the payment will be updated, or they'll say, okay, cash on delivery, whatever the payment type I have selected. So all this is a data, right? And all this data is going to save in a cloud. And for Meesho is actually using AWS cloud, Azure, Amazon Web Server, right? So for Meesho, Amazon Web Server is a third party who's actually managing their complete data, right? So this is what a public cloud is. for them, it is a public cloud, right? And public cloud, they are saving their data, and that third party is actually doing each and everything for them. Okay? So that's why we say it's a multi-tenant. So multiple people can save their data in that public cloud utilizing the particular space and doing it. And it is being operated by third party. Okay? Because Amazon is operating for Meesho. Amazon, it's a third party vendor who's operating the complete data, right? Then we have private cloud. So the private cloud is a cloud setup that is used only by one organization. Imagine it is a special private area in the cloud where only your company can use the resources like CPU and storage, right? You can get these resources whenever you need them through user-friendly portal. In a private cloud, everything is separated and controlled by your company, making it more secure and customized for your needs, right? So what private cloud is? Now, private cloud is actually a cloud which is maintained by yourselves. So we have learned about on-premises, right? So the company is creating a data center in their own premises as per their requirement. So they know that how much hardware they want, what kind of software they want, and what all the expertise they want. And if they are working in a specific data, then they know that, okay, this is a specific thing which I'm using for. If I'll explain you in a very layman language, let me try to explain you in a very layman language. So, okay, let me, for a public cloud, we all heard about DMART, right? So what DMART is? DMART is actually giving shelf to multiple users or multiple brands to keep their product in their warehouse, right? They have a shop, DMART have a shop, and in their shop, they have multiple brands and multiple products that are kept in a different shelves. They have the what storages for biscuits or FMCG, we say the fast moving goods that comes under everything, the consuming thing that we consume, right? Our groceries and everything that is there. Then they have a separate room for utensils, they have for clothes, right? They have for cookies, chocolates, everything. So what they are doing, what DMART is doing. So DMART is actually a cloud platform, right? A platform, a public platform for all this kind of brands to come and put their products. And what now DMART is going to do? DMART going to sell it, right? And DMART is now the owner of that particular products, and they are responsible to sell it across, right? So this is an example of public cloud in a very layman language. Now, if we come to the private cloud, right? So, let us take an example of which brand should I go with? Related to this only, I'm trying to take it. Okay, let us take the brand L'Oreal. Okay, so now what L'Oreal is? So we do have a store of L'Oreal in which only L'Oreal products are going to get sold. They have their shampoos, they have their conditioners, now they have their some hair care products, some skin care products, but only L'Oreal brand products are there, nothing else. Right? So what is that? They are having their private warehouse, right? Or their private shop from where they are only selling their products and nothing else. So this is what, and they have to manage everything by themselves. They have to manage their stocks, they have to manage their staff, everything they have to manage it, right? The brand L'Oreal have to manage everything, right? So this is what a private cloud is. Now
Uh,
let us go. Yeah.
yeah, Tani. In private cloud, we need to buy the storage and all for data.
Yes.
Means,
So, because we are actually creating a data center, right?
mm,
So in private cloud, what we are doing is we actually have a separate dedicated room in which
Mhm.
we create our own data centers. And to create our data centers, as I said, we have discussed some hardwares and some softwares are required. In hardwares, we need computers, we need storages, right? So all this are being required. I'll just show you a photo. Let me go back. Yeah. So can you see this?
Yeah, yes.
This is how our data center basically looks like, right? And this data centers consumes storages and some computers. So multiple data and multiple racks have been divided, and in that racks the data centers are being or the storages are being loaded, right? So if you go
Mhm.
to, I'll try to show in Google if I can. So this is how it is being done, right? I'll try to show in Google. Let me go. Google once. I'll try to show you a picture of a data center so that makes you understand in a better way. So have you ever seen this kind of rooms in any of your offices or
Yeah, the
anywhere?
server room, like.
Server rooms, right? Server rooms. So what these server rooms are basically, these are the data centers,
Mhm.
right? In which multiple servers are being connected. You have servers, you have storages, you have some computing points over there, you have networks, right, which are being connected. And from this servers only you are getting your data, or your data is getting stored in this server, right? So if your company has a particular or a dedicated room in which the server are being created, that means it's an on-premise part, and your company themselves is operating all this, right? So to set it, they need everything. They need hardware, they need software, each and every, they have to create a complete infrastructure, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
But by doing that, we are not denying the word cloud here. Means, uh, because the storage is also there on the
Mm-hmm.
premises.
Mm-hmm.
Mean,
So they have, yeah, they have created everything by themselves, right? So it's a cloud, but that cloud is being managed by your company themselves. So if there is any crash, or if there is any data leakage, or the security part, and as I said, that compliance. So for
Mhm.
example, for if you have to store the data of pharmaceutical clients, that so
Mhm.
for pharmaceutical, there's compliance known as HIPAA compliance. Right. So you
Mhm.
have to go to get the HIPAA compliance first, and then only you will be authorized to save the data of pharmaceutical clients. Or the data, if you have any pharmaceutical client data, then you can store that. Right. So there's a very hassle up thing that, okay, you have to go and get the hardware, you go and get the software, then you have to get it compliance. Then then you have to set up a company infrastructure, you have to keep monitoring it, right? If any breakdown is there, you have to maintain it. You have to hire the expertise, means experts who can actually manage it on time to time, right?
Mhm.
So these are all the hassle things that you have to handle if you have an on-premise server.
Okay.
Understand?
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. So if we take the example on a corporate level itself, right? Let me take one more example on a corporate level that makes everybody understand this concept in a very easier way, right? So all three, I'll explain with single example, I'll explain all three, right? So it'll be very easy for you people. We all have heard about WeWork, right? Yes. If we are roaming around, if we are either from any city, if we are from Mumbai, Bangalore, Gurgaon, Pune, anywhere we are from. So if we roam around, we can see multiple buildings by the name WeWork, 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 right? We all have seen, I guess.
Yes, yes.
Yes, we
Yeah.
have seen.
So what WeWork is? WeWork, it's actually a building which provides a space, dedicated space to multiple organizations, right? To create their means what you can set up their company set up over there, right? And to work from there, right? So WeWork, it's basically started, the concept of WeWork was started earlier, but it got into hype when COVID arrived, because in COVID, most of the companies have given work from home opportunities, right? So to pay for the complete infrastructure, so if they have a dedicated building for their company, and 3-4 floors of building they have, and in that they have to pay for the maintenance of their chairs, their tables, their computers, and the electricity bills they have to pay, right? Then they have to pay to the sweepers to wipe every means the clean their floors and to clean their washrooms, and they have to give the water bill extra, right? Each and everything, and it's very hassle for themselves. And if there's any breakdown, any kind of breakdown, it's there, then they have to manage it by themselves, right? So like this, a company have to do earlier. But now the concept of WeWork came into picture. Now what WeWork basically does, WeWork takes the complete guarantee of the complete maintenance of your space, right? So they basically provide you with the flow that, okay, this is the dedicated flow for your company. You create a setup. Sometimes they give the setup also that, okay, these many chairs and these many tables are allotted to you as per your requirement. And this is the cafeteria that is being dedicated to you. And you just have to pay some amount, right? Or a dedicated amount you have to pay, and the complete owner means maintenance and everything, it's going to take place by or handled by WeWork, right? So WeWork, it's basically a concept of public cloud, right? You are using an infrastructure, a complete services of a third party person, and you are just paying for that, right? So this is a public cloud, basically. Now the private cloud means we have seen a complete building of Google, right? So that building is dedicated to Google itself. There's no other company who's working over there. So the complete infrastructure is being set up by Google. So they have purchased each and everything, right? They have purchased their tables, chairs, and whatever the requirement is there. And now they are doing each kind of maintenance. So they are paying the electricity bills by themselves. They are paying water bills by themselves. They are paying to the staff which is there, right? The ground staff, they are paying it by themselves. If there's any damage, they are controlling it by themselves, right? So these are, and if there are some vendors, because we know in Google the food supply is there. So to manage that food supply, there has to be some vendors. So they are maintaining the vendor also by themselves, right? So this is a private cloud,
So,
right? So mhm.
means in private cloud, there is no third party involved, right?
No third party is involved. It's
Okay.
only you who are managing each and everything by yourself.
Mm. Okay, got it.
So you are responsible from your hardware to your software to your maintenance to the upgradation. Each and everything is under you, right? Now there comes a concept of hybrid cloud. Now, what is hybrid cloud? If I relate it by this only, so there's a building, I'll say, okay. So that building is owned by, let me say, Flipkart, right? So that building, it's been owned by Flipkart. There are 8 floors in that particular building, out of which 6 floors have been utilized by Flipkart themselves, and 2 buildings they have given on rent, right? So in one, so the other 2 floors are being utilized by some other 2 companies, right? So there's a dedicated building in which the owner is also there and the tenants are also there, right? So this thing is known as the hybrid part, right? The easiest example of hybrid, it's the work culture that we are following right now, right? We are working, if we have 5 days a week in working, 3 days we are going to office and 2 days we are working from home, right? So we have got the facilities of both working from office and working from home. So this is what hybrid is basically. So what hybrid cloud is and how it is useful, let me let you know. A hybrid cloud, sometimes called a cloud hybrid, is a computing environment that combines an on-premise data centers, also called a private cloud, with a public cloud, allowing data and application to be shared between them. Some people define hybrid cloud infrastructure to be include multi-cloud, right? So Over why multi-cloud? Because we are using an on-premises cloud also, something we are managing by ourselves, and we are giving it to some third party as well, right? So if I say that, okay, I have the data of I have two different clients available with me, right? I'm a company and I'm handling e-commerce clients and I'm handling pharmaceutical clients, right? Now, what am I doing? So I am compliant to handle the data of pharmaceutical client, but I don't have the compliance to handle the data of e-commerce clients. So now what I am doing is I'm telling a cloud partner that, okay, you handle the e-commerce data for me. Okay, and e-commerce also there are different domains, right? Or different parts I can say. So I say that, okay, I have the compliance to handle the FMCG products, but I don't have the access to complying the electronic products, right? TV, fridge, AC, all this data, I'm not compliant to save it on my cloud premises. So now I'm going to a third party who's having this compliance and I'm telling that, okay, for e-commerce, there will be two different clouds. The on my on-premises cloud, as I'm authorized to save the FMCG data, I'm going to save it. For the other products, please save the data for me, right? And for the pharmaceutical client, I am compliant, so I'm going to save the complete data on my cloud platform, right? So I'm creating an infrastructure of the data for which I am compliant, and I'm also taking the help of a third party person to save my data for which I'm not compliant, right? So this is the hybrid model, right?
Like Google itself,
Yes,
which keeps our hardware too and provide the services as well.
yes, correct,
Yeah,
correct,
right.
right? So this is
Got
the
it. Yeah.
concept of hybrid cloud, right?
Hmm.
Most of the companies basically go with either public or hybrid cloud, right? Because to maintain, as I said, for private cloud, to maintain a private cloud takes a lot of responsibilities and the cost is also involved, right? Either the cost is involved in public and hybrid also, but the responsibilities are not that too much, right? And you don't have to get the compliance certificate for each and every domain, right? And you don't have to monitor the data by yourself for each and everything. Okay. So basically the companies either go with public cloud or hybrid cloud, right? So as I was telling about Purview, right? So Purview, it's basically required for the clients who are working on hybrid cloud, right? Because it's very difficult to actually govern the data when it coming from two different sources or it's getting saved in two different cloud platforms, right? So but in this purpose we actually need the help of uh what do you mean say Azure Purview. Okay, the private cloud example, if I'll go, I can tell you it's SSMS. The person who are working in SQL, they must know about it. It's a SQL server, right? SQL, SSMS, it's a serverless SQL management system, right? So you are actually creating your database in the SSMS and you are keeping it to yourself and you are monitoring each and everything, right? So if the data gets deleted or if there's new data that has to come or it needs some upgradation, some modification, then you are the person responsible for doing all this data changes in SSMS, right? So SSMS, it's a private service that you are using. And in Azure, we have Azure SQL DB, Azure SQL database, right? So in that, the complete thing is being monitored or handled by the Azure. And here we come in place, right? So the data that is being done in Azure, we are handling the complete data by ourselves, right? So once I'll let you know the complete details that how the project basically works and how this all data factory, data bricks and all this structure come into place, right? Azure data lake and SQL DB, how it's all been related to each other and how it works, then you'll get more understanding of all this cloud. concepts as well. So, any doubts till now, or I'll move further? Anyone?
And it's clear.
I can move further.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes.
And I just wanted to know, I'll need 1 more hour to complete today's class because I have to tell you a bit practical part also. Is it okay with everyone to spend 1 more hour, or should I break it to the other class?
Sorry, Tanya, I didn't get you.
Yeah, so I was telling that, as I told you, that I have to let you know a bit practical part as well, right? So for that, I need 1 more hour to take it and to continue the class. So it'll be around 10. We can wind up the class. Everybody, it's okay, or you want me to continue tomorrow? Whatever suits everyone.
We can continue now also.
Okay, okay. Everybody on the same pace. We can continue for next 1 hour.
Yeah, we can continue. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'll just continue. Okay, so fine. Yeah. So as he studied that different types of clouds, so based on computing model, we have 3 clouds. That is infrastructure as a service, IaaS, then platform as a service, PaaS, and software as a service is known as SaaS. Right? Then based on development model, we have public, private, and hybrid cloud. Right? Yeah. Now we come into different part, that is what is serverless computing. But before going to serverless computing, I should take you to the practical part because that will also take an hour for us. Right. So that day, I've told everyone that how to go and log in for Azure. But I guess there are few new joinees today, so I should take it again. And I'll request everyone to kindly enroll in Azure by this week itself, right? So before we join the other class, the Saturday class, next Saturday class. So because what I am doing, I want you to do on the same day. You should practice on the same day, right? So yeah, so now if you want to get on enroll or log in to Azure, first you have to click on Azure portal. You have to type Azure portal. Then there will be portal.azure.com. Then you have to go to this. For me, it is already going to get logged in. First, let me log out of this. No problem. I'll open an incognito window. Is my incognito window visible to everyone?
No, Tanya.
No? Okay, let me share it again. Now, is it visible?
Yes.
So you have to go and type Azure portal. Then this Microsoft Azure portal, you can click on this. Right? Then you'll get an option. So for first 1 month, you can get a free trial, right? But for this to enroll in this free trial, you need a credit card, right? So that's why I'm giving you a time for a week to actually enroll in that. So you just have to click on start free. So I'll just go back and I'll explain you one more thing. Let me first go back. Yeah, you can see this pay as you go, right? So we were actually learning this concept, and when I was telling you about infrastructure as a service, I told you about pay as you go, right? So pay as you go, it's like you just have to pay the amount of the services which you are utilizing, right? Okay, anyone was asking any question? I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying like I already did it. Like I already upgraded.
Yeah, okay. Okay, that's great. If you already have. But for others who don't have, let them know. Okay. So now you have to either you can log in using a Microsoft account, right? You can enter your email ID over here and just you have to click on next. Right. When you click on next, you have to enter all your details and you have to click on next. Only 2 rupees will get deducted as of now from your account and it'll get automatically deactivated after a month, right? Unless and until you say that, okay, I want to now go ahead for a pay as you go thing, it won't take you over there, right? It'll get deactivated by then itself. So that's why I'm telling you to enroll it by this week before either you can enroll on, I'll prefer everybody to enroll on Friday, right? So from Friday, a month timing you'll get, and we'll try to wind up the Azure part within a month, so you don't have to go for pay as you part. And there's a trick if you want to extend it, right? If you have 2 different credit cards, so for a month you can use one credit card and your email ID and a contact number. The next month you can go with the alternate one, right? The second one. So like this, you can actually take for 2 months for free if you have 2 credit cards for sure. Yeah.
We can use the same ID or we need
No, no,
to
no, no.
change
You
the.
always have to use different ID and a different contact number
Okay.
because this IDs get registered in that now.
Mm-hmm.
That you can see over here from Tani Jaggi default directory is being created, right?
Right.
So for every account, there's a directory that is created in Azure. So if you go and try with a different credit card, but the same email ID, it says that the email ID it's already been registered and it is going to take you to the pay as you go part. Right? Yeah. So once you log into Azure portal, this is what the Azure portal basically looks like, right? For me, I've already created a resource group, but it's okay. We can create a new resource group for everyone. So from here, we can create a resource, right? Whatever we want. So we can go and we can say that I want to create a new resource group. Right? This resource group. Over here, I can create a new resource group, right? So resource group, we basically create in 3 different ways. So 3 different resource groups we create for a particular client. One is for the development part, the DevOps in which we do the development. Then second is UAT, it's a user testing part in which we do our testing. And the third for the production, right? So firstly, we develop things, then we test it, and then we send it to the production for the final versioning. Right? So for each and every part, we create different resources group, right? And we manage it. So I'll go and I'll create resource group. Yeah. So when we start our project, right? First thing we do is to create a resource group for a client, right? And in this resource group only, we are going to manage the data. We are going to store the data, okay, in different ways. So firstly, we have to create a resource group. As for me, it's a free trial subscription. It is giving me a free trial. If there has a pay as you go, or if for your company you have already purchased it and you have a specific subscription name, then it shows you that particular subscription name. Right now, for every one of you, it is going to show as a free trial only. Okay. Then you have to give a name of your resource group. So let me give that a name as Azure class June. Okay. And now I have to select a region. So basically try to select US EAT only, right? Now I'll go to next. There are a few tags that you can do if as per the company requirements, if the company says to use some tags, then as per the project, you can use tags. right? This is optional, but some company does uses the tags. Then you have to go click next, right? It'll give you like this. The tags also will be there. It says validation passed. So once the validation, if anything it's going wrong in that, it shows you that the validation failed. But for me now the validation is passed, so now I can create it. So I'll just go and I'll say that, okay, create for me. Okay. So for me now the resource group is created. I can go to my home page and I can see. So over here, the resources is there, right? So I have this resource created for me. It's Azure class test, right? So I already have this resource. Now I want to create something new in that. So I can go, I can create new, right? So whatever I want to create, now I want to create the containers in my ADLS. So now let me go for ADLS. So, okay, storage account first. I need to create, so I will say storage account. Right, so these are the storage accounts in which I can save. So let me once share and let you know how it goes. Yeah. So once we start the project, how the project basically works. Like, so we have a architecture that is known as Mendelian architecture, in which our data is divided into 3 groups. First is the bronze layer. Okay. So in bronze layer, the data is in raw state. Okay. And in this, we are actually transferring or moving the data from source to ADLS or Azure, I can say. Okay. So the sources can be different sources, right? As I said, on-premise can be there, or the data can be stored in the other cloud. So we have discussed that, like the data it's in SSMS, right? And now I have to move it from SSMS to Azure, or the data is in AWS, and from AWS now I want to move it to Azure, right? So this transaction of data from your source to your Azure part where you want to use your storage, Azure storage account, you can say. Okay. So this process is known as bronze layer, right? What is involved in this, right? So for this, you need a resource group. My screen is visible to everyone, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Then you need a storage account. In storage account, you can create folders. You can create files, right? So all these things you can create. This storage account is basically created in ADLS. What is ADLS? Is Azure Data Lake Storage. Okay. In Azure, there's a storage system that is known as Azure Data Lake Storage, right? So firstly, you have to create a storage account in your ADLS. In that storage account, you need to create container. And in this container, then you can create folders, files as per the requirement, multiple files and folders you create, right? So this is the first layer of your project. I'm going to teach you each and everything in detail, right? That how to create a resource group, how to create storage account, how to create containers, folders, files. right? And how what all types of storage accounts are there? We have multiple. We have blob storage. We have file storage. We have queue storages. Then we have ADLS. Multiple we have, right? And what storage account we use for which files, what are their pros, their cons, each and everything we are going to study in details. Right now, I'm just giving you an overview of a project, what we exactly does in Azure, right? So once this data, it's been transferred, right? So to transfer this data from your source to your ADLS, we need a concept known as Azure Data Factory. Let me show you Azure Data Factory. Data factory. Data factories, right? In this data factory, we basically create a data factory. Let me create a data factory for you people. I already have a resource group. I can select it from here. I can give it a name. Let me give it Azure class June ADF. Okay. Let me go version. It's fine for me. Okay. GitHub later. Okay. No problem. Public, I want it as a public part. Okay. So I'm doing as a public endpoints only. I'll go, let it be, don't put tags. Now I'm creating it. So why it always says review and create? So if by chance I have mentioned a long resource group or I have not configured it, then it's going to give me an error in the review part, right? But if everything goes well, it gets created, right? So now it's giving me an option to create, means the validation got passed. It takes a bit time. Let it get create. Development and process, you can see, right? Yeah, now it is created and it's asking me to go to resource group. Yeah. So this is how our ADF basically looks like, right? So I'll go and launch it. Here are activity log. What are the activities app does? Access control. Access control, it's basically the accesses that we want to provide to our users, right? We are going to study it in detail. So as per the roles, I want only a person to see the pipeline and does nothing in that, right? So I can give only a viewer, for example, our Google Drive, right? So if you share anything in your Google Drive, you have the option of editor. Editor means they can even add something in your drive. You either they can delete it, right? So they have the complete edit option. Then you have only a viewer option. So they can only view the data, but they cannot write or delete anything in the data, right? In the same way, we have some roles in Azure, which we can provide to the different users as per the requirement, right? So let me first launch the studio. I know it must be a little bit confusing for everyone that how it works, how it does. But when we actually work on it, that's why I want every one of you to work with me on the practical part, right? To get it in a more understanding way, right? So this is home page. Now I want to do it. I'll go to this author, right? Now you can see we have pipelines. So we have to create a pipelines in this. When we want to transfer the data, there are different activities. Using this activity, we have to create a pipeline. Okay. That day also I've given an example of pipeline. So I want to transfer my mobile data to my laptop, right? So to transfer this data, I need some external thing, right? I need a hardware or a software, I can say. Software, it's like there must be in Apple, we have some softwares, right? Using which, or a Bluetooth. Bluetooth also we can consider of, right? So I can on Bluetooth of my phone, I can on Bluetooth in my laptop, and using Bluetooth, I can actually transfer the data, right? So now the process of transferring the data from one device to another device, what is this? This is creating a pipeline, right? And now what I have, okay, now I'm using a wire, right? Or a USB to transfer the data. So the part of that USB, it's been done by ADF in Azure. Okay, it helps you to transfer the data from one source to the other source using some activities. So we are going to create each and every activity for some scenarios. We have the data, ongoing data we have to upload, right? So we are going to learn it in details. So I can show you some activity. If I go and create a pipeline, I'll say new pipeline. Right now, the activities that we have a copy activity, right? So copy activity is nothing. It's like copying your data from one place to the other. As simple as that. Okay. Then we have different activities. We have lookup activities. We have for each activity. We have if condition activity. So why these activities are required? What is the role of these activities in Azure and where we use it? I'm going to explain you each and everything in details. Over here, source means the source from where we want the data, right? From where we are, means in example of a mobile and laptop, our mobile, it's a source. And sink is nothing but the destination where we want the final data to get stored. So in our scenario, laptop, it's a sink or a destination. Okay?
Tanit, this is
Mhm.
basically like we are creating the flows for a data,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. We are creating a flow. We are managing a flow of the data. Right?
Okay.
Same. So this is done by Data Factory. Then the next layer is the silver layer. So what exactly we do in the silver layer? We do the cleaning of data. Cleaning and checking or transforming. And this is being done in Databricks. Right. So once we receive the data, might that data it's not in a proper format. ठीक है? अभी हमने क्या किया? हमने पूरा एक जगह से डेटा उठा के दूसरी जगह में डाल दिया, है ना? For example, whatever the data we have in our phones, we just copy pasted in a laptop, right? Now we found that data that we have copy pasted, it's somewhere around 20 GB of data. And in that 20 GB of data, some data it's really rubbish or useless that we don't want to need in a further part, right? So now what we are doing is we are going into that folder and we are actually seeing each and every file and which is required, we are keeping it, and if it's not required, we are actually deleting it, right? So we are cleaning our data anyways, right? So same way, when we receive the raw data, we just store it, and then as per the business requirement, we go and check that data and we do clean that data. Okay? Yes. So might be there's some duplicacy of data for one particular client, for one particular person, right? There are multiple entries already been made. So we have to clean that. We have to find that is there any duplicates or not. The file that we have received, it's in the proper format or not, what we exactly required. it's in the same format or not, right? For example, if I'm managing our data for a company's employees, right? So they told me that the employee data is going to come in a format. There will be different columns. The first column will be the first name of the employee. The second column, it's going to be last name of the employee. Then date of joining, then the department and that person is working, then the salary, right? So these are the columns that the data is going to come in this columns only, right? And later on how it came, it just came as a name, which includes your first name and your last name both, your date of joining and your department name and your salary, it's not there. The data I received, it's in this 3 columns only. This 3 column data only I have received and rest 2, it's not there. Right. So this check also we have to make that whether the data we are receiving, it's in the same format which we require in our analysis or which is required by the client or not. So all this part is being done in Databricks. Okay, we are running different so in Databricks, we use PySpark, we use Spark SQL, right? So as per the requirement, we actually work on that. So Databricks and PySpark will be taught by Ashutosh sir, right? ADF, complete concept, ADF, ADLS, and a little of Purview, it's going to be taught by myself. Okay, so first we'll go with ADF, ADLS, and then Ashutosh sir is going to take you with the Databricks and complete Spark. Okay. So yeah, so once the complete data it's been cleaned, the data it's in the requirement format that we want. Now we transfer the data into the gold layer, right? So the data it's been done, everything it's done, right? So if we take the example of our phone data only, right? Now the data is clean. Whatever the useless photos you have deleted it, right? Now what you want, you must have gone in 2 different trips. One you must have gone to Manali, the other you have gone to Singapore, right? Now you want to create your requirement now it's to create 2 different folders of photos. One is for Manali and one is for Singapore, right? Now you are doing now what you are doing, you are using some transformations in it, right? You are transferring all the Manali photos into a Manali folder and all the Singapore photos into a Singapore folder, right? And now your Manali and your Singapore folder is completely done as per your requirement, right? So the final data that was required, final data that was required, and it is stored in the final destination, right? This is what known as gold layer. In this, your ADF and Databricks both is involved. Both are involved. Okay. So basically in this 3 layers, we complete our project. So what exactly our project is? From data ingestion, data cleaning, and then data transformation. Data transformation. Okay. And here means it goes from source to its final destination. Fine. Source and destination can be multiple. Okay. But basically, we actually save because what we are doing is we are transferring the data, right? We are creating a meaningful insights of the data, and then that data is being used by Power BI team, or you can say visualization team. Okay. And next, it's being used by data scientist. Okay. So to enhance the business or to create a business logics, right? This data, it's being used by data scientist team. है ना? So that's why we basically save this data, or I can say the destination. Okay, the destination of this data, it's either ADLS or Azure SQL DB. DB, it's basically database, right? Like complete database. Okay. So basically, we store the final outcome of the data in these two ways, these two places, storages, either ADLS or Azure Databricks. Sorry, Azure SQL database. Fine. Yes. So we are going to help you to create a complete project, right? This is actually just a flow chart of data. Okay, or just now you can say a rough sketch of how the data or your project it's working, right? So like this only, that's why I'm saying that each and every concept of Azure, it's very, very important. Each and every part. Whether you take it as Databricks, you take it as Data Lake, you take it as SQL, or you take it as Data Factory, each and every part is very important, because in your end-to-end project, when we are going to teach you the end-to-end project, we are going to use all these things, right? Got my point?
One question here.
Yes.
The access that
Hello.
we are
Yeah.
giving on some
Uh,
particular table.
Is anyone saying something? Sorry, I'm not able to hear.
Hello, am I
Yeah, yeah.
audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So, my question here is that, to give somebody access on some table.
Mm-hmm.
So, which part of it it covers, like in ADF or Databricks?
We do have, as I said, that okay, I'll show you. Can you see this access control?
Yes, yes.
So there are access control for each and everything, right? And we have different accesses point over here. We have Azure Active Directories, and we have some role-based access, some SaaS-based access. So I'm going to explain you each and everything in detail, right? So as I said that as per the requirement, if I want to give the person access to a particular table, I can give them the access of a particular table or a particular file. If I want to give them the access of only write, they can only read and write it. If I want only them to read it, they can only read it. If I want to give them the access of a specific, means there are role-based access, right? So role means what role I want them to follow in my project, right? I want them to follow only a read role. So they can only read the data. They cannot do any changes in that. But I want them read and write role. So I can give them the read and write role, right? Now there are SaaS tokens. So what SaaS token basically means is there is some means I want some person to access that data for a specific period of time only, right? So I want this question was being asked by Varun, right, Varun?
Yes, yes, then.
Yeah, okay. So now Varun, I'm the admin of this particular project, right? And I want and your work is required, or I need your help in the pipeline or anything for this project, and I want you to complete it within 7 days. I want you to give the access only for 7 days. right?
Okay.
So using the SAS-based tokens, I can give you the access for that particular time period itself. When the 7 days over, your access will be revoked by itself. Automatically, I don't have to do anything. So the manual intervention, it's not required, right? So as per this, we have different accesses that we can provide to a person in our project. And we are going to, means what you can say, understand each and everything in detail, that if this is the scenario, what access you should give. If that is the scenario, what access you should give. Because these questions are also being asked in your interview, right?
Okay.
So we are going to learn each and everything in detail. One more concept it's there that we are going to learn. It's Azure keywords. Okay. So what Azure keywords basically means? So this is helpful to keep the secret keys. Right? This is basically what Azure keyword does is, so now I have data, right? I have client data which I'm accessing, right? And now I have to transfer that data from one place to the other. Yeah. So now means let's take an example of our Gmail. Okay. We have Gmail account. Everyone does have Gmail account, right? So in Gmail, we are getting the mails from different sources, right? I can mail you, Viplav can mail you, or Tanu can mail you, anyone can mail you. I'm using Gmail, someone might be using Outlook, right? So in this way, you are getting the mails from different sources. Now you want to access that Gmail. Now you want to open your account. You want to read that email, right? So to read that email, you want a password of your Gmail, right? You want some secret key. You want a password, है Or if I'll take other example, we all do have internet banking. Everyone use internet banking, right? So when we are downloading our statement, it is secured with a token, or it is secured with a password, right? It always says that it is password secured. So now to access that, you have to enter some password in that. So that password is basically your secret key, right? Once you enter that password, then only you will be able to see your complete statement. The same thing we are doing to keep our data secured when we are transferring the data from one place to another. We have to use some secret keys, and that secret keys are basically stored in keywords. Right? So when we are creating any pipeline, we have to use that secret keys also, that keywords. Understand?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So this is also one of the important point that we have. And when it comes to questions, right? Okay, I'll show you some questions. Fine. Okay. Can you see my screen? Yes. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Yes.
So these are some basic questions which are being asked in the interviews, right? And each and everything, I'm making sure each and everything I'm going to teach you, right? And if you are there, I'll show you Google Drive. I'll try to show you the Google Drive. Sorry. I don't know whether my Gmail it's opened or not. Yeah, it's open. Go to my drive. This drive is being shared by everyone. Okay. From class 1 till class 13, we have SQL. Then we have Python, right? For SQL, we have sample data that we have used, right? Now I'll go to this. So we have top 45 questions for SQL, which is being asked in the interview, right? And I'll make sure, or I can guarantee you that if you study this, if your concept is clear, right? Why I want everyone to go through this part, because your concept should be clear, right? Because they are, firstly, what they are going to do if they are taking the interview, right? And firstly, they are going to tell you to write a SQL query. They'll give you a question, they'll tell you to write a SQL query. So you have to write a SQL query. And writing a query, it's not enough. Okay, once you write the query, next question will be, can you explain the logic? Why you have written this? So you should understand the logic also. So Viplav has given the interview recently, and same thing has happened with him. Am I right, Viplav? Are we on the same page?
Yeah. So basically, I was applying for data analyst position in some of the companies. So for data analyst, the primary skills are SQL and Python, right? So as I learned Python and as I went through the SQL interview questions, which was provided by Tanya, so all like maximum 95% of the interview questions were asked from these slides only. So basically, my interview was really good because of this, and it will definitely help us in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Viplav. So the same way, I'm going to create the questionnaire, the top 45 interview or top 50 interview questions. So I'm going to create it and I'm going to provide it for SQL separately, Python separately, and Azure separately. So Azure will inclusive of everything. Your Azure Data Lake, your Azure Data Factory, and Databricks, everything will be a mixture of that. And top 50 or 60, as much as I can, I am going to provide you, right? But again, I'm telling you to practice with me, because the first most question that they are going to ask you, it's introduce yourself, right? And in that introduction, you have to explain a bit of your project. If you say that, okay, I was working with so and so company in XYZ project, and these are the tech skills that we have used, fine. Second question will be, can you elaborate about your project? Then you have to elaborate on your project, right? You say that, okay, I have done this thing. They are going to tell you in depth of your project. कि ठीक है, अच्छा आपने ठीक है, डेटा फैक्ट्री में आपने ये पाइपलाइन बनाई थी, डेटा फैक्ट्री में ही क्यों बनाई थी? आपने उसमें क्या क्या एक्टिविटीज यूज की थी, वही एक्टिविटीज क्यों यूज की थी? So you should know कि आपने क्या activities use की थी and why only that activities you have used, right? So practical, you should know the theoretical concept as well. Both are equally important, right? And that's why I'll tell everybody to practice plus go through the data or this documents that I basically share. And I'm going to share you the slides from which I'm teaching you. I'm surely going to share that also. For SQL, it's already there. You can see for SQL, it's already there, right? Yeah, I was discussing about the concept of OLTP and OLAP I just mentioned, right? When I was teaching about the cloud. So I just taught you about this also. So for other people, when we are going to in the concept of SQL and Python, I'm going to teach you, don't worry about it. Right? And meanwhile, you can just go through the videos, you can go through the slides, right? So when we again teach that, you can get a more hands-on. Fine. So yeah, again, I'll come to this. And I say that it's a rough sketch of the project that we are going to do, right? So yeah, I guess now we can wind up today's class. and I have shown you the portal. I have given you a little brief of project, and yeah, once we go in details, you get to know each and everything in details. Yeah. So please don't get worried. You must be worried कि यार इतना सारा करना पड़ेगा. It's very easy, very easy. Right? You just have to practice with concentration. That's it. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Stop sharing my screen. Yes. Okay. So tomorrow class at what time? Can we conduct it in afternoon tomorrow because in evening I have to go somewhere. Is it okay with everyone to if I conduct it in afternoon tomorrow?
Yes, yes, yes.
Sure, Tanya.
Yeah, we can have it around 2 or 3 maybe.
Mm-hmm.